Broadcasting live from somewhere in the Shadow Realm, this is YuGiOh Duel Links Talk. Here's your host, Doug Dimmaduel.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of YuGiOh Duel Links Talk. Today, we're going to go over a Masked Beast Des Gardius deck that you should have gotten a majority of the pieces from the recent Marik event. So now that that's been completed, and now that that's over, it looks like a lot of people should have a lot of those pieces hanging around. And remember too, not just were you able to get Masked Beast Des Gardius from obtaining copies of the card through the actual event, but also once you unlock Marik and you're able to level up, once you get down to one of those later on levels, you're able to actually unlock another copy of Masked Beast Des Gardius. So we're going to go through a lot of the pieces of this deck. I've had a lot of fun playing around with it because I know I've kind of already done a variety or a version of this deck with Dark Necrofear, so I'm also going to try and stick with that. So speaking of Dark Necrofear, the first card that we have in here is Dark Necrofear, the level 8 Fiend, 2200 attack, 2800 defense, that cannot be normal summoned or set and must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 Fiend-type monsters from your graveyard. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was destroyed by an opponent's card this turn by battle or card effect, and sent to your graveyard while it was a monster card under your control, you target one face-up monster your opponent controls and equip this card to that target. While this card is equipped to a monster by this effect, take control of that monster. So that was one that was from the Yami Bakura event. If you haven't gotten one yet, you may have to wait around for the next time that Yami Bakura returns to Duel World and try and unlock Yami Bakura. That's how you get Dark Necrofear. Then we have, of course, the other staple of this deck, the Masked Beast Des Gardius. It's a level 8 Fiend as well that cannot be normal summoned or set. Now it's got a 3300 attack and a 2500 defense. It must first be special summoned from your hand by attributing 2 monsters, including at least one Grand Tiki Elder or Melchid, the 4-faced beast. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, target one face-up monster your opponent controls and equip one the Mask of Remnants from your deck to it. So this is just a card that's all around a really powerful card. In the first place, we're talking about a 3300 attack right off the bat. Now that's depending on what skill you use, because if you use Yami Yugi's skill, the Power of Dark, we're talking about 200 attack boost. So you're saying, so right away you have a 3500 attack monster if you're running this deck with Yami Yugi. So yeah, just a really good card. And of course, its secondary effect where you're able to take control of an opponent's monster once it's destroyed. Always a good effect, and that's one of the things why it has such good synergy with Dark Necrofear. So it's a very similar effect, and it gives you more than one way to make that happen. So speaking of Dark Necrofear and speaking of Masked Beast Des Gardius, how do you search them out? Well, we use the card Dimmaduel Octhros. This is the one that you're able to get at the card trader. It's a level 3 rare fiend, 800 attack, 800 defense. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, add one level 8 fiend type monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Dimmaduel Octhros once per turn. So 800 attack, 800 defense, real easy for this card to get destroyed and then activate its effect. So yeah, you really want to take advantage of that and search out whatever card you need based off of whatever monsters you have in your hand also. So okay, now let's get into the good one. We got the Melchid, the 4-faced beast, level 4 fiend, 1500 attack, 1200 defense. This was one of the normal cards that you were able to get from the Marik event. And this one is one of the necessary cards in order to make that tribute happen for Des Gardius. So 1500 attack, 1200 defense, like I said. So 1700 attack if you're running the Power of Dark. So yeah, it's just a plain vanilla. You would just want to use it as tribute fodder for your special summon. And other than that, we're going to see the same thing for Grand Tiki Elder. It's another level 4 Dark Fiend, 1500 attack, 800 defense. This is another one of those monsters you want to get out there. So what's important here and what we're going to go through next is the spell and trap cards. What I look into first off are stall cards, cards that'll help you just kind of survive one turn. so that you're able to keep your Grand Tiki Elder or your Melchid, the four-faced beast, on the field. So the first thing that comes to mind is a card that I've used in prior decks, and that is a Feint Plan. It's a normal trap card where a player cannot attack face-down monsters during this turn. So what you want to do is put your Melchid, the four-faced beast, or your Grand Tiki Elder on the field in face-down position. Use your Feint Plan trap, so the next turn when your opponent is ready to enter the battle phase, activate your Feint Plan, or at any point during their main phase, depending on if you think they're going to have anti-magic arrows or anything like that. Anything that would prevent you from using a trap card during the battle phase. So it just depends on the timing. But yeah, Feint Plan, what that'll do is it will buy you a turn. That way the next turn you could summon another monster, whether it's Doomdog or whether it's the other copy of Melchid or the other copy of Grand Tiki, doesn't matter. Then you put that second monster on the field and have your Masked Beast Des Gardius ready for special summon. So having a Feint Plan is one of the better trap cards for this deck. Speaking of trap cards, we got one more that I run in here. That's Windstorm of Ediqua. Again, it's just another way to buy yourself a turn. Its effect is change the battle positions of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. If you want a copy of this card, you got to go and level up My Valentine. She is the one that she's the legendary duelist that you're able to acquire this card from. You'd only get one copy, so hang on to it. And I typically use this in a lot of decks, and I know a lot of people do as well. Then I'll run one copy of the Mask of Remnants. It's just a rare spell card. You're able to get it in the Marik event as well. What it is, it's got its effect where you shuffle this card into its owner's deck, or if this card was put into play by the effect of Masked Beast Des Gardius, this card is treated as an equipped card. Control of the equipped monster is switched. So I only run one copy of this one in the deck because you really only need one copy of this card. Just, you don't want to see it flood your hand or have too many of them in your hand, because then you got to, you want to activate its effect and put it back into the deck. So, like I said, that's just a really good card that you're going to need if you want to activate Masked Beast Des Gardius' full effect. And, so run a copy of that at least. Then I run 2 copies of Super Rush Headlong. I see different versions of this deck where there are 3 copies run. I only run 2. Not for any particular reason, aside from the fact that I only have 2. So, kind of limits me to that. Super Rush Headlong is a quick effect spell card that you target one face-up monster you control and declare one attribute. If that target battles an opponent's monster with that attribute this turn, destroy that opponent's monster at the start of the damage step. So I like this card because you can activate it during your opponent's turn, and typically a lot of them are themed decks, like a Mako deck where you know that all the monsters are water, so they're not going to be able to really do anything to you, and you destroy a monster in the process because you activate it right as they're attacking. So yeah, just another good stall card to wait until the next turn. So another card that I like to run, just because I have the Dark Necrofear piece to this deck, is Tribute to the Doomed. Now, if you're not familiar with this card, it is the ultra rare that you're able to get out of the recent mini box. So what that is you discard one card and then target one monster on the field and destroy it. So what Tribute to the Doomed allows you to do is, say for example you have a Dark Necrofear in your hand and you have another monster. Activate Tribute to the Doomed, send that Fiend monster to the graveyard, and maybe that's going to put you to the over the edge where you're going to have at least 3 Fiends in the graveyard. So you're able to do a pretty good combo play out of this while destroying an opponent's monster in the process. So this is one of the better cards for a Fiend deck. I only have one copy of it, so that's why I only run one copy in this deck. But in general, with these Fiend decks where you want Fiend monsters to end up in the graveyard, yeah, Tribute to the Doomed is a very good card, highly sought after, and it's one that I would use more often than not. So anyway, that kind of gives you a basic overview of the strategy for this deck. Definitely recommend you trying this out, just because it seems like a lot of pieces are fairly easily obtainable if you've been keeping up with the recent events, and if you're able to stop by the card trader and pick up your copies of Doomdog, that's a must-have. And then from there, just try and figure out your own stall cards that you're able to use via spell or via trap cards that will allow you to stall through the next turn. And you're able to really just kind of set yourself up. And I know there's a lot of different methods, but I just want to at least go over the method that I've been using playing around with this deck. So if you have anything that you want to add or anything similar, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at YuGiOh Deck Talk. It's all one word, at YuGiOh Deck Talk. And I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.